This is the Cooking Today Show, and I'm Allan Gilbreth. Today I'm being joined by my partner in culinary crime, Scott J. Carroll. Scott, how are you, man?
You know, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. Not too bad. Well, I called you in today for a special occasion.
You did. You didn't tell me what, but I'm here.
Well, we're going to discuss cooking for Valentine's.
Oh, okay.
You know, and I'm going to point out that most people start with trying to do way too much and overreaching.
You know, I'd say that's fair. I would say that is absolutely fair.
Because, well, all right, let's start with, the number one favorite topic for Valentine's is got to be chocolate.
Yeah, you have to have that red heart-shaped box, the chocolates inside. You got to make sure you get the right ones because you don't want to get all coconuts. You want to have the one with the caramel or the one with the little crispy things.
Well, and a lot of people try to do, big fancies dinners at home.
Yeah.
Generally, what we get to hear about is the absolute disaster that great big dinner turned out to be.
I tried cooking an entire lamb.
Nobody told me to. And then, oh my goodness. I'm not good at seafood and you could have played basketball with it.
Oh.
Yeah. Poor people. I went to the grocery store and I bought all these brand new fresh steaks.
Oh.
And they were absolutely, they were so hard you couldn't eat them. It's like, well, all right, guys, welcome. Welcome to cooking today in our busy, psychologically damaged world. It's the best way I can phrase that because people get all excited about holidays.
They do,
and I think they go too far.
That's fair. I mean, we come from a big family. Like one side's Italian, one side is Europe. So every time there's a get together, there's food involved.
There's a lot of food.
And holidays that's not the food table, that's the food room.
Right. But everybody has their food specialty.
They do.
Valentine's Day seems to throw some of those rules out of the window. So we're going to start this little first segment off as the cautionary tale that A, this is a bad time to try to learn something new.
Yes, it is.
B, are you staying in? Are you going out? How are people going to be dressed?
That is important. That is something.
It's a huge thing if the whole, you have this grandiose evening planned and you're going to start out with, barbecue and chicken tenders.
And you're wearing your nicest, whitest shirt.
And something could go wrong here.
I can't imagine what could possibly.
I'm going to start with, I think Valentine's Day, rather than going for the truly grandiose meal, maybe something you're very unfamiliar with, I would say Valentine's would be the perfect time to play for a favorite, a true comfort food.
Something that you've made and it's good. You know that both of you like it. Something that you've kind of had time to perfect in the kitchen.
And this is where your own background, cooking experience, culture, past experience with holidays, I'm going to go with stick with what you're good at.
I do a lot of kitchen MacGyvering myself, but never for a special meal. Never for one of those, this is an important night or a special night. I'm going to cook something I know. I'm not going to look in my fridge or pantry and go, well, I've got these 4 ingredients. What can I make for tonight?
That's pretty much what I do every evening when I get home. You walk in and it's like an episode of Iron Chef every night. It's like, oh, look, I have 6 different things utterly unrelated. They're about to meet. So, I'm just trying to picture, I'm thinking of all the horror stories I've heard in the past.
Oh, yeah.
And where it's just like, this was our first Valentine's together, so I decided to.
Oh.
And, usually those are just the tragedies. And I'm actually having a funny thought. I was remembering of last year at the home show where we were at with Tool Talk Radio. Had a gentleman just walk straight up to me who had obviously been following on the Cooking Today show and just said, "I can't fry chicken."
That's a conversation opener.
Middle of a tool show, right? Middle of a tool show, just walks right up and goes, "I can't fry chicken." And everybody at the booth just pointed at me. Everybody's like, yeah, looking for him. Looking at that talking like, I'm like, come on down here. Come on. Forget this tool stuff. Let's start talking food. And within 5 minutes, there were like 15 people gathered around him as we sat around and talked about the peculiarities of frying chicken at home versus the restaurant where they have restaurant equipment.
The restaurant grade everything.
Versus what you have at home. And how you can achieve the same results and that type of thing.
Do you want it crispier? Do you wet, dry, wet? Do you...
All of these things are people forget sometimes those restaurants, they have an advantage over you. They got some better equipment than you got at home. Now, that's not completely true because I've seen some pretty well decked out kitchens.
Someone out there's got a good stove.
Oh, yeah, they do. So when we come back, we're going to dive into, we're going to start, I think, with chocolate. See what happens. This is the Cooking Today show, and I'm Allan Gilbreth, here with my buddy Scott J. Carroll, and we are talking about, we're going to dive into chocolate for Valentine's.
Oh, can we actually dive into some chocolate? Is that physically possible?
Actually, it is actually possible. It would make a mess, but it is completely possible.
How did I know you'd have a story?
There's probably more than one, and I'm going to throw out there, please do not send us pictures or tales of diving into chocolate.
No.
That's just too funny. Of chocolate. All right. First off, if you've never seen where chocolate comes from.
Oh, it's fascinating.
It's just this huge,
ugly
tumor growing out of the side of a tree. It's a big casing that looks kind of like a giant nut.
Yeah.
That when ripened, you pop it off the tree, and when you crack it open, there are all these...
Technically beans?
Yeah, well, they're kind of in a little sack, and then you get to the bean. And of the actual powder, the actual cocoa that you get out of this is certainly not sweet.
No. If you've ever tried those chocolate bars where it's like, this one is 98% cacao, it is not fun to try to go through that.
No, it is pretty intense.
Yeah.
It does make a really good drink.
It goes good in some sauces too.
And one of the big things a lot of people don't realize is chocolate was originally blended with peppers.
Yeah, I could see that.
The
original
original drink, when discovered by Europeans, when as the South American adventures were beginning, the original drink was a combination of the cacao or the cocoa powders and peppers. Nice kind of a spicy drink.
Yeah, there's I was given Mexican hot chocolate, and it's got that nice like little cinnamon spicy punch to it, and it makes it so much like when it's thick and rich and it's that deep chocolate flavor that adds so much to it.
So kind of welcome to chocolate. Basically chocolate is fat management. But if you're going to come down to it, if you really think about it, chocolate freezes, quote unquote, becomes a solid at just slightly below room temperature. And if you tempered it properly, and we'll talk about tempering in just a minute, it remains a solid until, of course, as a small child, you discovered if you left that candy bar on the dashboard of the car.
It was no longer a candy bar.
Yeah,
it was a candy drink.
It became hot cocoa real quick. But that is because chocolate melts very easily and nice and smoothly at about 110 degrees.
Mm-hmm. That's why it melts in your mouth.
Yes. So chocolate, while it is just massively popular, a lot of people, when they try to do anything with chocolate at home, it goes horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And I will tell you the number one reason it goes horribly wrong is they tried to melt it too fast.
You can't. You got to get a double boiler and do it slow. And yeah, sometimes you lose that shine, or it'll look dull and you go, oh, I did it wrong. Or sometimes you see chocolate that's got like the white powder. Mm-hmm. It's fine.
It is, but you've again lost some of the mystique.
Yeah.
It's not that smooth, glossy, wonderful thing. And of course, for Valentine's Day, a huge thing is some kind of dip for strawberries, apples, any type of, basically any form of fruit.
Yeah.
Will pretty much work with chocolate. And I'm kind of fond of repurposing chocolate.
Go on.
Well, at Christmas, you got a bunch of, insert here, of X-brand candies, and a lot of them are solid chocolates, milk chocolates or others. And of course, now with a lot of the discount stores and the availability of other chocolates,
yeah,
because there's pretty much now available. You go to the grocery store, you go to a discount store, there is now everything from pretty not so good milk chocolate whatevers,
yeah,
all the way up to, as you've put it, there's a lot of chocolates I see now marketed as extreme dark.
Yeah. And we'll throw some sea salt on this one, or some
a little caramel on a little caramel center, or a little this or a little that. And okay, so since we've got the chocolate and a double boiler, for those of you who really don't know what we're talking about, it's a pan within a pan.
Basically.
You have boiling water down below. You have something in a pan above that you're protecting from the boiling water, but you're trying to heat it.
You can also do it with a Pyrex bowl.
Yes, but pan within a pan is kind of the idea. And this is a great way of melting butter or anything else that you're trying to keep warm without cooking, because you are limiting the amount of heat that can reach it.
Because once you cook it, you start to get the chemical changes.
Right. And certain things you just don't want to get above 212 degrees. In the case of chocolate, you really don't want to get it above 130 degrees. So if you're going to play with chocolate, the big idea here is, do you have a candy thermometer?
I don't think that's in most people's kits.
Probably not. They're inexpensive. You can get them at pretty much any place that sells kitchen stuff. But a candy thermometer does help. It keeps you from scorching it, separating it, or just plain making it ugly. Now, if you want to make like a dipping fondue.
I do.
And welcome to Valentine's evening. There's really nothing cuter or sweeter. And
dipping the fruit.
Yes, and you can take. I'm gonna spoil somebody's. I'm gonna throw out a brand of. You can get those bags of Kisses.
Oh yeah.
And now they don't melt real well because they're thick, so it takes a while. So I mean, don't think I'm gonna start this 5 minutes before dinner. You needed to start an hour ago.
Or you take a hammer to it.
Yeah, well, or grind them up, or take a candy grinder or whatever, and make it smaller pieces. But you want to warm these things up to about 110, 115 degrees. Now, one thing I did discover recently, Scott, was temperature-controlled hot plates.
Oh.
Where you can set a pot down on this thing and say, I want this to be 115 degrees.
And it'll consistently stay there?
And it will self-regulate itself.
Oh, that's awesome. I would have loved to have had one of those in college.
Well, they're available now. And you just load that thing up. you know, shred out a bag of kisses. Make sure you get all the paper. Don't leave anything on them because you're going to melt all this. And then you can, as it begins to get a little creamier and a little creamier, if you want to make a dip out of it, you can add about an eighth of a cup of milk. And that will give it a little creamier dipping consistency. It won't be so thick or hard. It won't stiffen back up like the original candy.
Right, because you've added more. You've changed. Right,
it's kind of like letting your queso cool at the Mexican restaurant. It gets thicker as it cools.
Oh, you never let the queso cool.
Well, not at our table.
No,
it's kind of like a raid on the chips. But,
it doesn't survive.
So here we go. We've got a wonderful thing. If we can control the temperature, and yes, you can melt chocolate in a microwave, but you need to use the power at like 25% to 50%, and never more than like 10 to 15 second burst. Stir it. Make sure you got it there, that you can hit it again. Stir it.
Scrape it all off the sides.
Make sure you're not cooking it.
Yeah.
Right. You just want to get this to melt. So use those low power settings. High is not always the answer.
I tried to. There was we were talking about chocolates, and there was this chocolate I used to love getting as a kid for like Valentine's Day or Easter, and there was these little chocolates that had the crisp rice in them.
Right.
And they don't make those anymore. I have not been able to find those. I found the shaped ones that have like peanut butter or caramel, the other stuff, but I can't find the little crisp rice ones. So one year I tried to make it.
Okay.
So I got the crisp rice. I melted the chocolate. I mixed it together. I spread it out, and it almost got there. It was just missing something, but I don't know what.
But not a bad first try.
No, and I think it's because I didn't temper the chocolate right when I was redoing it.
Tempering the chocolate. Here's where we're going to go. You only want to melt originally about 2/3 of your chocolate, because you're separating things. You're getting everybody's kind of separating, and by adding back in about 1/3 as the heat is there and you're stirring, you're adding back in the emulsified solids.
So you're using like a seed chocolate then?
Exactly. So what we mean by seed chocolate is we're adding a little bit back in to kind of show the melted chocolate, oh yeah, this is what you used to look like, and this is what I need you to go back into becoming. So that helps a little bit. Now, water for chocolate. Please don't. Do not put water in chocolate. It makes the sugars separate, and they want to go do their own thing, and now your chocolate's going to get ugly. So do not use water in chocolate. Don't do that. So a little milk if you need to make it a little creamier. And of course, guys, you can experiment with this to taste and to flavor. And for my chili heads out there, yes, you can make a hot chocolate.
It sounds good.
Well, as a matter of fact, one of my favorite, this guilty pleasures, is of a chocolate-covered jalapeno filled with cheesecake.
That sounds...
That's my secret.
On the surface, that sounds terrible, but I'm sure it's amazing.
It is astounding. All right, when we come back, a little more Valentine's advice. This is the Cooking Today Show. I'm Allan Gilbert, and I'm here with my partner in culinary crime, Scott J. Carroll. Today, we're wandering through some kind of do's and don'ts for Valentine's. So we've spent the last segment of, chocolate, man. You got to talk about chocolate.
You can't. I think there is a law.
Yeah, you can't have Valentine's without chocolate. So, I love how chocolate has utterly dominated certain holidays. Because, of course, Halloween's totally chocolate. There are other candies that fight their way in there, but let's face it, it's chocolate.
Well, I those little candy hearts, man. I actually like those. I'm the weird. No, I'm the weird guy. I like those little candy hearts.
Everybody claims they don't like them, but they will sit there and eat them and tell you they don't like them.
No.
As they eat a handful of those things.
These are awful. Oh, look, this one says love you.
Yeah, they read the message and then eat the. So Valentine's Day, pretty much chocolate, and chocolate. And, I think chocolate really just holds out all the way through Easter.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a big recipe for 4th of July or Labor Day. That's a lot of chocolate.
It's too hot. The chocolate's melting.
Well, there you go. So let's wander over into other Valentine's Day favorites.
Sure.
I'm going to pick on you because you're fresh from the coast. Let's talk about seafood for a minute.
Sure.
And why you shouldn't be experimenting with this for your Valentine's Day dinner.
No. If you absolutely have to have seafood for Valentine's Day dinner, go to the restaurant. Go because unless you are a consistent crab boiler or you know exactly where to cut and cook that salmon or catfish or whatever it is you caught, you have to let someone else do it.
All right, I'm not going to be quite that pessimistic. And I'm going to say,
you mean pessimistic?
Oh, but boom.
I apologize for that.
No, you don't.
I don't.
You're smiling. You don't apologize at all. So, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, you want to do the big romantic dinner. You want to cook dinner. And of course, what leaps to mind, but shrimp and scallops and this and that. Okay. One, do you actually know how to cook this? Yeah. And I asked that question hard because I don't mean you bought a pre-made kit. Because a lot of people have bought the pre-made kits. They open the thing, they throw it in the pot, they cook it for the 4 minutes that it says so on the package. And, now my well-publicized opinion of these meals is it wasn't a bad place to start. They had noodles, they had some ingredients, but please, let's step above the mediocrity and at least give it some fresh bell peppers, some little fresh Parmesan, maybe some noodles.
Yeah,
from this administration, not the last one.
I mentioned that we were in our family. We were taught to cook by our grandparents.
Right.
Like I said, one side Italian, one side Europe, and the Italian side always said, if the recipe calls for a half a clove of garlic, you do a clove of garlic. If it calls for a clove of garlic, you do the clove and a little bit more. Four
of them. Yeah.
4 is a little bit more.
Yeah. We have a close friend that that meant the head of garlic.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1 clove equal 1 head of garlic. Yes.
But you're absolutely right where it's those box ones that come in. They're a great place to start if you've never cooked that before.
Right.
But once you've given it 1 or 2, you can go, okay, let me spice it up. Throw something else in there. And that's...
How about a little fresh parsley?
Ooh. Fresh parsley is so good.
Just get a little wacky. Let's go with a little lemon zest. Let's, well, the one thing I run into with this is you have people that ordinarily, and there's a whole TV show about being a terrible cook.
Yes, there is.
And sadly, it's a very popular show. And if you've ever watched this travesty, it's really hurtful because you find yourself yelling at the screen, put that down. Don't do that.
Do not mix those together. No, that's not what you...
Don't mix them now. Don't mix them now.
Why are you using a spatula like that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So seafood at Valentine's. Let's not be on that show. Let's not. I'm going to start out with, if you're going to cook at home, are you familiar with pasta? How you feel about pasta? Because
I know how I feel about pasta.
You're Italian. You would die without pasta.
Italian and Europe.
Yes.
So
you would just curl up and cease to exist.
No pasta, no potatoes, no cabbage. No,
No, you're kind of done.
Yeah.
So here we go. Rigatoni. Rotini. Easy pastas to deal with.
Penne.
Penne is probably outside of spaghetti noodles. Penne pasta. And describe a penne pasta.
Penne pasta, it's a little tube.
It's the cute little tube.
It's not a ziti noodle because the ziti is smooth. The
Right.
penne has ridges.
Right.
There you go.
And the ridges are for the conveyance of additional stuff.
It
Sauce.
helps the sauce
Right.
stick on. And, the old trick, well, if you're going to add the sauce to it, put just a little bit of the pasta water back on the noodles after you strain them. That helps more sauce stick to it.
Keeps from getting dry. Yep. So, all right. So penne pasta is just mind-numbingly simple. Basically, it's dry. You boil it. And again, I'm going to throw in a grandma's secret. You remember your grandma used to always lay a wooden spoon across the top, and you were like, she's just not forgetting where the spoon is. No, because
it serves a purpose.
Anytime you're boiling pasta and you don't pay good attention and the starch begins building up a little bit, what happens?
You get all those bubbles, and then it boils over, and
now you have a mess all over the
and
kitchen,
that, yeah.
right? So the spoon laid across there, while it will not completely stop a boil over, will give you a fighting chance to see it.
So you can...
Because it will pop
Turn it down a
bubbles.
little.
It will pop bubbles as they get to the wooden spoon.
It's similar to if you pour a cup of soda and you got all the fizzies on top. If you touch with your finger the fizzies, they will go down faster.
Right. You transfer a little human oil and salt in it to the top of it, and it... I suggest you only do that to your own beverage.
Yes.
Don't be sticking your finger in other people's beverages. So here we are with seafood, and here we are telling everybody what not to do. And here's the thing. Do it lightly. Whatever it is you're planning to do, high is not your friend.
No.
Shrimp, lobster, crab, crayfish, whatever your seafood is, especially if it's in the arachnid department.
If the first step is streamline it, maybe take a step back.
And pre-prep as much as possible. The last thing you want is a lot of working with the food at the table for the big special dinner. So if you need to shell and devein things, get that done first. Don't worry so much about the plating and all that at this stage. We'll worry about that later. Just kind of get your ingredients together. And are you going for the big meal, or are you going for, and again, my advocation, go for the comfort meal. Yeah.
Something that something that you're guaranteed to sit there and go, oh, that was good.
We've had this before. We've cooked this before. We know how to get it done, and voila. And I'm going to highly advocate.
One of my personal rules is, that you've cooked one of those comfort meals when you're sitting there and you're full and you go, oh, that was good. There's a little more in the pot, though. Do I want one more bowl? Do I save it for lunch tomorrow? It's not going to reheat as well tomorrow. I may as well just eat it now.
Oh, yeah.
You turn to your other and you go, there's a little, you want to split it? I'll give you the bigger spoonful.
Yeah. You want that last shrimp, don't you? Yeah. Here, nothing's sadder than leaving two shrimp behind. No, we don't want to do that. So, and the big thing is, don't cook it too hard. Don't cook it to death. The moment it hits that kind of done texture, get it off the heat.
Yeah.
Get it off the heat then. One thing I'm a big advocate for is assembling a meal, not cooking a meal.
Yeah, that's
now,
fair.
Assembling the meal means everything gets cooked separately, and that way it can be kept and stored separately and assembled when you're ready to serve. So let's say we're going to do of kind of a shrimp Italian style. So we're going to butter fry some shrimp with Italian seasonings.
Just put some aromas and some onion in there.
Just, a little garlic.
4 cloves.
A little bunching onion, a little, whatever your flavors are that you want. You're just going to saute that lightly. And all that means is just fry it, put on low. Mm-hmm. It's all that's, I love the France, we basically base cooking on French.
Yeah.
Because we're going to saute something. Well, basically that just means frying it without killing it. Does that translation work for you?
Yes, it does.
Once everything is separated and it's all prepared, you've already made your pasta, you've already made your protein, you've already bought, purchased, or warmed up your sauce, whatever's going to tie them together. And when it's dinner time, reheating pasta is 30 seconds.
Yeah.
It's not hard, folks. It's not hard to do that. When we come back, we're going to add a few other proteins to this and see what we come up with. This is the Cooking Today Show. I'm Allan Gilbert, and I'm sitting here with my partner in culinary crime, Scott J. Carroll, and we're discussing kind of some do's and don'ts for that big Valentine's meal.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about chocolate.
We did.
Chocolate is really easy to beat it up. It doesn't like high temps.
No, it doesn't.
But when you get it right, it is so tasty.
It is. Well, it's chocolate.
It is, and it smells so good.
And it just sets off those things in your brain that go, oh, I like that. Have some serotonin.
Yeah, you have a little serotonin. Have a little pleasure in your life. You enjoy this.
You know what? I'll throw some dopamine in there for free.
And everybody goes, really? No, these are the chemicals your brain does when it's happy. Yeah, your brain is happy. It says, ooh, I'm going to make happy chemicals. We also have kind of a few cautionary tales about seafood.
Yeah.
Don't get adventurous. This is where I'm going to tell you, you're not on the Food Channel. No. Don't make this an episode of Beat the Chef.
If you're cooking your dinner and you're gonna deglaze for the first time, you don't no. Not for the special day.
Pick another night when takeout is available.
Because let's be honest, Valentine's restaurants and takeout are slammed.
They're done.
They're done. And I used to work restaurants. Like you, I have had a number of jobs in the past. And restaurants, the holidays, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Father's
those
Day.
Those are the two for the eat outs. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
For Valentine's Day, I generally advise against trying to do a restaurant on Valentine's Day. And even the few days before and after. Because everyone's going, we can be clever. We're not going to go on Valentine's Day. We're going to go the next day. And it's still just as full.
Yeah, it's very packed.
Normally, I don't advise going out for those days. Because you can cook something, like we talked about, a recipe you have, something that you can have just as good a time for way less money cooking at home.
Well, and I'm going to throw in, moms and dads and everybody out there, if you're a little bit handy around the kitchen, you are renowned for your insert dish here.
Yeah.
Mom, dad, are you known for your steaks? Are you known for your pork chops? Are you known for your tater salad? Are you known for your pasta? Mm-hmm. What is that one thing that you do better than anybody else? What is that one family recipe?
Yeah, that
was handed down from the dim times of the past and has made it forward. Guys, those are the kind of meals you need to think about for like a Valentine's Day meal. Ultimate comfort foods.
Yeah.
You're here to feel good and make people happy, and shouldn't be a stressful evening. It should be one of comfort and happiness.
Yeah. And if for me personally, like I know what my wife's favorite meal is. It's a recipe that I had kitchen MacGyvered it years ago. And it was, we call it basil chicken pasta.
Okay.
And it is my wife's favorite thing that I've ever put together. Because I've tried cooking other things. I've tried cooking, we've cooked lamb shanks, we've cooked steaks.
Right.
And every time I go, hey, a special day coming up, what do you want me to cook for you? She goes, you already know. It's the basil chicken pasta.
Okay.
And it was something I had a couple of ingredients, and I said, I can throw this together. And it ended up being really simple. We had some chicken tenders in the fridge.
Okay.
And threw those in a frying pan with some garlic, Italian seasoning, and I had chopped up some onion and tomato on the side.
Okay.
Once the chicken was cooked, took it out of the pan, threw the veggies in, shredded the chicken, threw that back. Oh, well, basil, of course, is in there too. I may not have mentioned basil, but there's basil in there.
It's kind of in the title of the dish.
Yeah.
So.
Threw the chicken back in the pan once the veggies were done, put the sauce in, and boiled some penne. Threw it all together with some fresh grated Parmesan cheese on top. And I think all told, like if I don't have that stuff at home and I have to go to the store to get the pieces, $14, $15 if I spring for the garlic bread.
And you got stuff left over.
Oh yeah, because I don't, again, Italian and Europe background, I don't know how to cook small.
Okay.
Every dish I cook is intended for at least 4 or 5 people.
Well, that's the portions you're comfortable cooking.
Yeah.
And folks, with, these, as we put it, storage technologies available, this is not a bad thing. You got leftovers turn into magnificent meals later down the week.
Mm-hmm.
So, cautionary tale on chocolate, don't burn it. Cautionary tale on seafood, basically, don't burn it.
Yeah.
Don't make it rubbery, because these things are light. They're easily bruised.
Yeah.
Type things. If we're going to talk about other proteins, and biggies, I think everybody picks as kind of like a steak or something like that. And a lot of people run down to the grocery store and they look and they go, oh my gosh, that looks fabulous. They pick it out, they take it home, they cook it, and it never seems to turn out like it does at the restaurant.
No.
Why is that?
Well, there's a number of things. One of the big things is steak keeps cooking once you take it off the heat.
Correct.
So you can't put it in if you want your steak medium, you can't leave it in the pan until it's medium. You have to take it out before then, because once it sits, and you have to let your steak sit for a few minutes after you take it out of the pan. People
forget food often needs to rest for a moment or two after it comes off the heat.
Mm-hmm.
Because a big secret that kind of spoiled me when I learned this, and I learned this about 1 million years ago, was that a great time to season something is as it just came off.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm making seasoned fries, I don't try to pre-season that or pre-season the oil. I shake on the seasoning the moment it comes out. The second it
comes out, because those oils are still hot and wet, and the salt melts a little bit,
but it retracts when it just that moment of cooling, and it kind of sucks everything back in. The Cajun seasonings or the blackening seasonings or whatever flavor you're trying to get to, because I have made probably 20 different flavors of fries and at least 40 different flavors of popcorn.
Oh yeah. I the other night I put together fry salt mix. I wanted fries, but I wanted something a little savory with just a hint of sweet, because I had a bad day and I wanted comfort food.
Okay.
And it was really simple. It was salt, onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder, dash of Italian seasoning, and about a quarter teaspoon of sugar. Just tossed it all together. Cooked some fries up. The second they came out, dusted it on top. Man, they were good.
But the big thing is you got the seasoning
right when they came out.
So as they rested to the table, then as they began to cool, the seasonings they stick to it really good. That way you're not just wasting a lot of it off in the oil. So, just a little tiny trick. Just one of those old things that pops into your head when you're talking about this stuff. It is amazing the number of memories. Every time you mention any type of food, especially like 3 or 4 of us sitting around.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, and, you know, and folks, pay attention to those conversations. You will learn some amazing things.
Like I went to butterfry a steak and oh wait, butterfry? Tell me about that. And then, oh, that was good.
What do you mean? It's just how you cut it. Well, it is just how you cut it, but how you cut it, how you present it, and especially with steak, how old it is.
Has it been dry aged? Is it?
You know, why is aging cost so much? Because the steak that you think is so fresh is in reality a couple of weeks old.
With steak itself, it needs that time. Because if you have like the fresh steak, it's not as good. It's
a little tough.
Yeah, a little bit.
It needs to be beaten and have those fibers breaking down. If they're not broken down just a bit, the meat is going to contract and pull together. And a good example of this is like a pot roast. About 30 minutes into cooking a pot roast, because a pot roast is 4, 6, 8 hour cook.
Yeah.
Of about an hour into this, that pot roast is a little bit like cooking a soccer ball.
Yeah,
it's drawn up. It's hard. But yet you come back 2 hours later and the continuous heat is now beginning to break down the bonds. And now it's getting more and more tender. Now it's getting more and more flaky. Now it's picking up and absorbing the flavors. So it's getting there. But, you know, I always kind of warn people, all right, what are you planning to do for Valentine's for dinner? What's the big hook you're trying to do? How familiar are you with it? And again, throwing in, what kind of evening have you got planned? Yeah. Are you going out? Are you staying in? Is it Netflix and chill? Is it we're just going to eat and pass out? Is it, you know, a more ambitious evening planned? Really?
You got to work the food around that.
But plan accordingly and don't be afraid to downgrade. You don't have to have the big, giant, super heavy meal if you have later activities planned.
You know, a salad is always good sometimes.
Salads, soups. And again, I'm going to go back to comforts. Those easy little things, those wonderful dishes. And I'm even going to throw in a flip and a weird one.
Oh, okay.
Have you thought about breakfast for dinner?
Oh, I love doing breakfast for dinner. I love breakfast food, but I'm never hungry in the morning. So breakfast for dinner for me, like pancakes and bacon, or some nice over easy eggs.
I am an omelet aficionado because there is practically nothing you can't put in an omelet.
Chocolate?
In a roundabout way, yes, you can.
I knew it. I knew you'd have a way.
There is. Shockingly, there is. But, you know, I've had, you know, the people like seafood mixes and stuff. Man, it's a great filler.
Oh, yeah.
For an omelet. So, well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've had a little fun with us while we chit-chatted a little bit about some do's and don'ts about what to eat on Valentine's. And this is the Cooking Today show, and thanks for listening.